Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espey.
Well, first, my good evening. Welcome to Update here on Manx Radio, taking you through the main news of the day. So before 5:30, the steam packet's inviting the public to have their say as plans move forward for its next vessel that's set to join the fleet in 2030. One name suggestion so far is Sir Norman Wisdom. Don't know what you make of that. And MHK says he's refusing to sign legislation that would remove the Bishop's vote, and he's calling on his political colleagues to take the same stand. Also tonight, Janara, the company which now owns Manx.net, says it isn't aware of any hack or breach of its email systems. And later, a big moment for local music. A band is releasing its first ever world album this weekend with a unique dual launch. There's one in English and one in Manx. All that, we'll have the weather, the traffic and the travel as well. And if you'd like to get in touch, studio@manxradio.com is the email address. We'll start as ever though with a roundup of the main news headlines with Siobhan Fastamai.
Fastamai. Fire crews have been dealing with an ongoing incident in the Union Mills area this afternoon. Residents nearby are being advised to keep doors and windows closed as a precaution. Manx students say they want clearer, more accessible information about local politics ahead of this year's House of Keys general election. Pupils at Ballacameen High School say there's a strong need for more political education, both in schools and directly from Tynwald.
I'd say all of us here would be willing to vote if we were, educated enough. Could it be in the PSHE curriculum? Could it be something that's just to raise awareness about Manx politics? Because a lot of us are going to go to university and probably won't vote.
A union representing Manx farmers is demanding answers as to why payments to board members of Isle of Man meats were allowed to skyrocket. The MNFU has issued a statement after figures from the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture showed total compensation had more than tripled over the last 3 fiscal years. The steam packet company has launched a public consultation as it progresses plans for its next ship, due to replace the Manannan in 2030. The operator is seeking views on weighing what it calls the necessary trade-offs of speed, comfort and all-weather reliability. Further afield, an inquiry has found that children attending a private school in Edinburgh were wholly failed as physical, sexual and emotional abuse was common over 4 decades. Lady Smith says it's shameful victims at Fettes College were not protected between the 1950s and 80s. A former Spandau Ballet frontman, Ross Davidson, has been found guilty of rape and a separate sex assault. A holiday park in Dorset has been evacuated after a danger to life flood warning was reimposed following Storm Chandra. And former British boxing champion and now Ireland resident Tyson Fury has announced he'll return to the ring in April. They're your headlines. We'll have your news in full at 6.
Thanks very much, Siobhan. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. It's going to be dry and mostly clear this evening and tonight. Moderate breezes slowly increasing. They'll become fresh to strong after around midnight. Temperatures no lower than 5. Then tomorrow, dry and bright with sunny intervals, but there will be quite a strong wind. Then outbreaks of rain will develop in the evening as winds become gale force in places for a time. Maximum temperatures tomorrow around 8. And then Friday will be still wet and windy at first, but it will become dry in the afternoon.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
OK, as we just heard from Siobhan there, what would you like to see from the steam packet's next vessel? Well, a ferry operator wants to hear from you as it prepares to add a new ship to its fleet in 2030. Sean Cowper reports.
Since the Manxman took over as the steam packet's flagship in August 2023, attention has turned to the replacement for the Manannan. The Sea Services Agreement, the contract between the company and government that sets out the services it's required to provide, states the replacement for Manannan should be secured by this year. Today, the operator has launched a public consultation seeking views on weighing what it calls the necessary trade-offs of speed, comfort, all-weather reliability and on-board amenities. It says it's exploring options for a next-generation vessel capable of providing a dependable, reliable and affordable service, with a particular focus on a future connectivity to Liverpool. The operator also states future planning must balance performance, comfort, regulatory compliance and sustainability. Its online survey is open to all Isle of Man residents and customers who use steam packet services. In a statement, Steam Packet Managing Director Brian Thompson said fleet renewal is about investing for the future of the island. This consultation is an important input to our decision-making process and ensures we consider the desires of our customers who rely on our services. Of course, these desires are in addition to our focus on the critical mission to ensure long-term reliability, year-round connectivity, sustainability and a modern fleet that supports the island's future needs. The company previously stated it expects to spend up to £120 million on Manannan's replacement, funding it from a combination of the group's profits and additional debt at zero cost to the taxpayer.
That is Sian Cowper reporting, and we'll be hearing from the Managing Director of the Steam Packet, Brian Thompson, on Breakfast tomorrow. It's just gone 5:05 and it's been a long political journey, but as we heard on yesterday's programme, the end is in sight for the Bishop's vote. Potentially. The Constitution Bill's passage through the House of Keys and Legislative Council concluded when Keys members agreed to the amendment suggested by the upper chamber yesterday. But the Oncan MHK Rob Callister did try to adjourn the bill's progress, and here, after all the things that happened in Keys yesterday, he explained to John Moss why.
The reason why I was asking for that adjournment is because I don't believe the people of the Isle of Man have had a proper input into this process. So Mr Hooper asked two very quick questions. One was, do you believe the Bishop should remain in Tynwald? And should the Bishop have a vote in the chamber? Now, what he didn't ask the people of the Isle of Man is, are we prepared to lose the Diocese of Sodra-Man? That's never been asked. But more importantly to me, of something that may happen in the future, is the next Bishop of the Isle of Man may not be living here on the Isle of Man. The next Bishop may live in the UK.
We just stay with the present Bishop. You can't say there hasn't been enough debate on this, surely. It's been talked about and talked about and talked about. In fact, David Ashford got up and said, for goodness sake, let's get this thing settled. And he probably reflected one or two members' views.
Agreed, but if you go through all of the process of this, the votes have been very close. They've been 12-12, they've been 11-13, they've been incredibly close. So it shows that the House is almost split. And what we've been trying to say through the process is that Mr Hooper, those who actually believe that Mr Hooper hasn't followed due process in respect of engaging with the people of the Isle of Man or allowing the people of the Isle of Man to fully understand what may happen in the future. That is why it's taken so long. I wish this bill had been stopped 2 years ago, because I knew at the time that Mr Hooper was not engaged properly with the people of the Isle of Man in respect of what potentially could happen in the future.
We've got the Bishop looking on, obviously. Do you think we are going to lose our diocese?
I don't know. It's not my call, and I think it's up to them. What I'm more concerned...
But it was one of the strengths of your
Agreed.
argument.
Okay, so what I'm more concerned about is the fact the next Bishop of the Isle of Man may not live here. They may commute to Tynwald citizens. They may commute to Legislative Council.
Bishop that sort of drops
and
in
that,
from
to
time
me,
to time.
and the people of the Isle of Man, I think, will be deeply concerned about that, because the Bishop has been within our community since 1614, if not longer.
That's assuming that the Church of England is going to see fit to take away our diocese.
I think all of the evidence is showing that there will be a question asked. Will they follow through on it? I don't know. And the reason why I was asking today is to put this technically into the long grass, was to allow it to become an election issue and allow the people of the Isle of Man the full sense of our community to have an input into this about whether the Bishop should stay on the Isle of Man, whether the Bishop should have a vote, but more importantly, do we still care about the Diocese of Sodra-Man?
OK, so that was Rob Callister talking to John yesterday. But overnight, there has been an update on this story. Taking to Facebook, the Oncan member declared that he will not sign the legislation before it's sent for royal assent. Now, Siobhan is with me just now. You've been following this today, Siobhan. I suppose, first of all, the question is, would him not signing it make any difference at all?
Well, kind of in short, Beth, yes, it could. So the move to remove the Bishop's vote now does seem set in stone. But in theory, if enough members join forces with Mr Callister, then he could still turn the tide.
How would that happen then?
So basically, any member of Tynwald is entitled to withhold their signature from any piece of legislation. What's key here, though, is the fact that the bill is only given royal assent if both the UK government's Ministry of Justice approves it and it's been signed in Tynwald by a quorum of both branches. That essentially means the minimum number of members that must be present to make the proceedings valid. So in the House of Keys, a quorum is 13 members, and in Legislative Council, it's 5. Now, yesterday, the votes around this in the House of Keys were definitely split. So 11 voted to adjourn the decision until after this September's election. And interestingly, 13 voted to get on with it. So in theory, if all members follow their voting pattern from this week's sitting, then that bill will sail through and successfully proceed. But until that point, anything could in fact happen. So once the correct number of Tynwald members have signed, if it's that magic 13, then the bill will then progress to the Royal Assent stage and will eventually be promulgated on Tynwald Day.
So we wait and see still.
Wait and see.
OK, there is a new features and analysis section on the Manx Radio website where there's all the details which will be published about this very shortly. So do take a look at that. Siobhan, thank you very much indeed. It's just gone 5:10. Now, Junara, the company which now owns Manx.net, says it isn't aware of any hack or breach of its email systems. So this comes after we heard from a number of listeners on Man in Line who said their email address had been compromised after they'd paid to subscribe to the news service. Lewis has the details.
If you're not aware, back in October, Junara, which has been providing the technical platform for Manx.net for several years, assumed full ownership and customer support responsibility. Users were given until the 20th of January to register and would have to pay £65, otherwise their accounts would be deleted come April. In recent weeks, we've heard warnings from the Office of Cybersecurity that scammers had been impersonating Manx Telecom, sending emails including links that urged people to switch to the new firm within a few days. But Roger, who phoned the Man in Line on Tuesday, says something different happened with his account.
I signed up on the 16th of this month, paid by £65, and hours, at least the same day afterwards, my account was hacked. 42 of my contacts received an email purporting to be me and asking for money, basically.
Other texters and callers gave similar experiences. Well, I contacted Junara explaining what we'd heard, and a spokesperson told me we have been providing secure, reliable email services to customers in the Isle of Man since 2019 and to hundreds of millions of email users globally for more than 27 years. Isle of Man customer email accounts were already hosted on @mail systems prior to the transition to Junara. This means there has been no email account or data migration and no change to the security controls in place for these accounts. This transition to Junara has not introduced any new risk to customer email accounts. It adds compromised accounts are an ongoing industry-wide issue affecting all global email providers and are most commonly the result of credentials obtained through phishing or password reuse. We are not aware, it says, of any hack or breach of our email systems, and our monitoring and checks indicate no evidence of a system-level compromise. And the spokesperson gives this advice. If customers use their email account password for any other service or believe their account may have been compromised, we strongly recommend they log into webmail immediately and set a new unique password that will not be used elsewhere. Customers should also remain cautious and avoid clicking on unexpected email links claiming to be from Junara. We remain fully committed to our Isle of Man customers, it says, with our email experts monitoring and protecting services around the clock to keep accounts secure and available 24/7.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Now, a union representing Manx farmers is demanding answers as to why payments to board members of Isle of Man meets were allowed to increase. So the MNFU has issued a statement after those figures from the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture showed total compensation had more than tripled over the past 3 fiscal years. It wants further explanation as to who signed off a change to the structure of board members' payments, and it wants DEFA to clearly evidence how the increased fees claim to have delivered tangible benefits and improvements to the operations of the meat plant. So in issuing this statement, the MNFU has aligned itself with the Fat Stop Marketing Association, which also said it was shocked and dismayed by the payments. We heard from them on a programme recently. You can find the full statement from them on the Manx Radio website. But let me just read you the MNFU statement in full. So it says, we have written to the Chair and Board of Directors of Isle of Man Meats Limited and the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture Minister with the following questions. The MNFU MNFU have reviewed the written response to the question from the Honourable Member for Onchan, Ms Edge, requesting clarity on payments to board members of Isle of Man Meats Limited. It could be considered reasonable to anticipate some payment to board members in return for taking on the responsibilities of a directorship and time commitment. However, the significantly increasing expenditure via invoices and a change to board members' payments needs further explanation. Who would sign off on a change to the structure of board member payments? The board of the MNFU therefore asked the Minister for the Department and the Board of Directors of Isle of Man Meats Limited to clearly evidence how the increased fees claimed by both the Chair and Directors have delivered tangible benefits and improvements to the operations of the plant, providing value for money to both the agricultural industry that relies on the plant and the taxpayer. Has DEFA, they say, as the majority shareholder, set any parameters on the appointed board? And has there been ongoing scrutiny on any improvements delivered as a result of additional expenditure? Can these improvements be evidenced by either the board or DEFA as a shareholder? The MNFU board requests that, if some of the expenditure can be allocated to a DEFA commissioned report, that this report should be published. Have any recommendations of any such report been implemented at the plant which could evidence delivering improvements? And it concludes by saying, we hope to receive a response within a reasonable time frame. So that is the statement, and we have asked the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture and Isle of Man Meats for a response.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres.
So there's still that ongoing issue in Union Mills, that fire. So traffic around that area might be a little bit delayed as you're heading home this evening. All okay down at the airport. Looking at the steam packet, the Manxman left Heysham a little bit later than usual. It left at 20 to 3, so it's going to get in at around 25 past 6. So that means the sailing back to Heysham this evening is going to be a little bit later. That's going to go at 7:45. There is a question mark over tomorrow afternoon sailing. That's because of the weather. A decision will be made about that by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we'll bring you all the very latest details. Other things to look out for: there will be a road closure tomorrow on part of the TT course. It's from 10 a.m. until midday, and that is from Belig Bridge through to Douglas Road Corner, and that's for the DOI to sweep and clear the road from the remaining debris following yesterday's weather. Other things: Onchan all week, temporary lights on Governor's Road and on Whitebridge Hill in Ballasalla. The Orrisdale Road is closed for resurfacing, and also in Ballasalla, temporary lights on the St Mark's Road as well.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres. Call Quayside Tyres on 664417 to book your free vehicles winter check, so your vehicle is safe for you and other road users.
You are listening to Update. It is 17 minutes past 5, and local authorities are still now announcing their rates for the next financial year. So we've had announcements from 3 of them: Onchan, Port Erin and Lezayre, and local democracy reporter Emma Draper has all the details.
Onchan Commissioners have announced it will be increasing its rates for the next financial year by 6%. The new rate has been set at 457 pence in the pound and will cover loan repayments of nearly £900,000 to fund street lighting schemes across the village. Lead Member for Finance Oliver Lockwood says the increase will also support its reserves and believes it's important there is a sufficient level to meet any unexpected expenditure in the future. Last year, the Commissioners had set its rate at 431 pence. In Port Erin, the Commissioners say increasing its rate will support its plan to prioritise essential village infrastructure and community services. It's been set at 404 pence in the pound, which is an increase of 4.94% and equates to an increase of £22.04 per year for a standard 3-bedroom property in the village. Chair Hannah Mackenzie says the board's focus for the next financial year will be a back-to-basics approach and ensuring that primary efforts are committed to ratepayers, as well as supporting visitors who sustain the local businesses. She adds that the budget acknowledges a forecast loss of income following the Riat Vrada project and adds a specific public meeting will be called about the situation imminently. Whilst in the north, residents in Lezayre will see their rates increase by 5% for the next financial year. The Commissioners have set the rate at 120 pence in the pound, a 6p increase on 2025. The local authority says it continues to collect and provide funds for services including hedge cutting, gully cleaning, the Northern Civic Community Site, the Northern Swimming Pool and road sweeping. It adds the rates also cover the costs associated to operate the community hall for everyone in the parish to access.
That is our local democracy reporter Emma Draper just talking about some of the rates decisions that have been announced in the past couple of days. If you go to any of the rate stories on the Manx Radio website, there's also an explainer there just about how rates are set and how that 300 and whatever pence in the pound works out and what it actually means. So do check those out. It's coming up to 20 past 5. Well, Manx students have said they want to see more accessible information on local politics politics ahead of the general election later this year. They were on the latest school edition of Man in Line. They were at Ballacomene, and this is what they had to say.
I don't really know too much about the elections that happen in the Isle of Man. I try and educate myself as much as possible, but I did want to address the level of understanding and knowledge within kind of like our community, and specifically the need to enhance political literacy and public awareness. And I think it extends beyond basic reading and writing skills. I think it involves the ability to kind of be educated and interpret information critically and engage thoughtfully with political and civic issues.
And how would you do that? Where would that come from? The home, school, or yourself?
So I did kind of try and come up with a couple of solutions to strengthen public awareness. I said that maybe we could have weekly Civic Explainer radio segments. I think that maybe if we had segments on the radio where people the coverage focuses primarily on reporting events and updates and kind of explaining how government processes work or why decisions happen. I think citizens will often hear about policy changes without context, which can lead to confusion, misinformation, and a lot of reactive debate. So I think that could be a good solution.
Are you going to vote in September?
I would love to vote, but like a lot of people said, I'm not educated enough, and this is one of the points that I'd like to speak about as well, because like Lana said as well, that voting for young people is, we're encouraged to vote at the age of 16, but we don't actually know what we're voting for necessarily. And I'd say all of us here would be willing to vote if we were, educated enough. Could it be in the PSHE curriculum? Could it be something that's just a suggestion like a youth parliament or something like that, just to raise awareness about Manx politics, because a lot of us are going to go to university and we probably won't vote.
And also, when you go to university and your fellow students across say, the Isle of Man has got its own parliament, what does it do? And and
a lot of us don't actually really know what happens.
That is some of the students talking on Man in Line at lunchtime from Ballacomene High School. Always amazing just how articulate they are on a range of subjects. You can watch that programme back and listen on the Manx Radio website. It's 21 minutes past 5. We've had a message in from Andy just thinking about the Bishop story that we're talking about at the start of the programme. Perhaps a candidate for the next Parliament might be able to introduce a private member's bill to give the Bishop a vote. Could that happen? Asked Andy. Well, I guess it possibly could do. We have got that general election in September. If one of the candidates felt very strongly about it, they were successful, they could bring potentially a private member's bill through. But is that something that you want to see? Now, this weekend we'll see the launch of a world first here on the Isle of Man. It's the first ever album produced as a dual release, so one in English and one in Manx. Recorded entirely in both languages with translations by Bob Carswell. The album from the local band Bisky Brisht will be released on Saturday. So it's called Treading Water, or Brebel Ushti. I hope I pronounced that right. And the body of work represents 4 years of writing for the group. Singer Ruby Biscoe-Taylor has been talking to Christy.
Well, we originally thought this would take about, 18 months, 2 years, and we've been working on it for 4 years. And even though we're releasing it at the end of the month, I still don't know if I'm done, honestly. But it's okay. Ambitious in 2 ways. The first is that we've just basically invited everyone we've ever known to come play on it. And we love a wall of sound anyway, but we've just really gone overboard with the instrumentation and textures, and we've put lots of work into that. And also we decided that we wanted to record the whole album in English and in Manx. So it's a double album, got 2 discs, one in English, one in Manx, 12 songs on each, and apparently that's a world first. I didn't actually realise until Culture Vannon had posted about it this week.
That's very exciting, and we should say it's a good year for it.
It is the perfect year for it. It is the year of Manx language, Blend the Gelga, so we're super pleased to be releasing it this year. And it's been a long time coming. I'm still feeling just so anxious about it, honestly. But I'm really excited for people to hear it.
Well, there's something about it, isn't it, when you are releasing music and it's stuff you've written yourself, it's like putting your babies out there. And it's obviously, by the sound of things, having read the bit of blurb about it, the lovely PR about it, quite deep stuff going on with the lyrics and with the sort of themes.
Mm-hmm. I would call it kind of, so I'm 32 now, the tale of my 20s. And it kind of goes all the way from kind of moving back to the island and dealing with my mental health and dealing with a lot of grief and hope at the end of all that. But it's that. So I think the first album we did was a lot of songs I'd written as a teenager. So there were lots of love songs, lots of kind of exciting ones, whereas this one has been written basically entirely in that decade. So it kind of touches on... And I got married when I was 22, so there's nothing to write about love anymore, you know? I'm joking.
She loves Luca Shancy.
He gets one song in there. It's not very flattering, but...
Oh dear, this does not bode well.
No, it's fine.
Well, I'll tell you what, do you want to tell us about next week's amazing gig then?
So we're inviting back some past band members to play with us, which is exciting.
Fabulous.
So Kin's coming back to play guitar for us. Jip, who recorded it, will be playing a few songs on French horn. And then I've invited back one of my uni bandmates, Jamie. He's going to come play trumpet. And then we've got Tom Corlett on tuba. We have got Katie Lawrence on fiddle. We've got Elizabeth Davison Blythe on fiddle. And we've got Josephine Evans on cello.
Oh my goodness.
So it's going to be a very full stage.
That is Ruby from Bisky Brish talking to Christy. So the whole band was on Live Lounge last Saturday, so you can listen back to their appearance and live in-studio session as a podcast, or you can watch it on our YouTube channel as well. It's 5:25. Sports brought to us by The Print Shed here on Update, and here's Darren.
Faster mine. FC Isle of Man are set to take on Atherton Laburnum Rovers away from home in the North West Counties Football League tonight. It's the first time the two sides have met since the Manchester side were promoted into the division. The Ravens sit 19th in the table and 14th above the drop zone thanks to a Steve Whitley double against South Liverpool last weekend. Atherton versus FC Isle of Man will kick off at Crilly Park at 7:45pm. On to TT News, where 16-time winner Ian Hutchinson has a new team for 2026. He's set to join Burroughs Engineering RK Racing for the upcoming campaign. Hutchinson will compete in the two Monster Energy Supersport TT races on a Ducati Panigale V2. On the move, the 46-year-old said to be welcomed into his team is a privilege. I can't wait to race for the Burroughs Engineering Ducati. Hutchinson returned to the mountain course last year after a year's absence in 2024. His best finish was 5th in the opening Superstock race. Manx Powerlifting has announced plans to develop a dedicated training facility in Douglas. It will be called Powerlifting Isle of Man Performance and Development Centre. The space is on Summerhill Road in the former Experience Restaurant building. The organisation says it will be a place for lifters to train, develop and compete. In a post on social media, the organisation says it's looking for sponsors for the new centre. And Team Isle of Man is looking for medical professionals ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The event, which is being held in Glasgow later this year, has had to change its format, requiring a medical team at all or part of the games. They're looking for a team doctor, chartered physiotherapist and sports massage therapist. For more information, visit manxradio.com.
Darren, thank you very much indeed. So we've got a couple of other suggestions for names for the new vessel. We've been talking about the steam packet looking to add to its fleet in 2030. It's looking for your responses as to what you would like. Mona's Isle has been a popular name suggestion, Lady of Man, but a couple of people saying Sir Norman Wisdom would be a good one. So keep those thoughts coming in. So say we'll be hearing from the managing director of the steam packet on Breakfast tomorrow, talking more about what they're looking for from the public in terms of ideas and responses. But that is all from Update this evening. Coming up next, it's Spotlight with Howard Kane. It's brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council. Then at 6pm, it's Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley. Ernie Thorne will be here with you from 9 with Ernie's Eclectic. And then Dave's got After Hours from 10. So whatever you're doing this evening, have a good one. And we will be back with Update at 5pm tomorrow.